But thank you all for joining us. We're glad you're here. This is part of a series of webinars that we have going on. It's our KET Education Virtual Learning Series where we hit on a topic each week on Thursday, right at this appointed time. You can find the rest of those webinars at ket.org/webinars if you want to sign up for some more. Couple of just housekeeping, just make sure you have your microphone muted unless you want to talk to us. And then you can, of course, use the chat throughout the session to give us feedback, answer questions, share any ideas that spark as we go through today. So today's session is on PBS Learning Media and how it can be used with digital tools, a variety of digital tools. We will not get to all of these, but we're going to try to hit a few at least. And I will kind of give this like warning preface that this session is not going to be like a how-to of each individual tool. It's going to be more kind of a pie in the sky idea generating session. So how can we use PBS Learning Media integrated with these tools to create some really engaging activities for virtual learning or in-person learning or hybrid learning or whatever learning looks like this week or today or this hour or this minute. And I will go ahead and say that that is one of the beauties of PBS Learning Media. It, first of all, is absolutely free, which is hard to find in the educational space these days. But it is one of those services that it doesn't matter what your learning space looks like at this exact moment, it's going to work. So if you're in a virtual setting right now and next week you're going to be in a hybrid setting, and then the week after that you're going to be, moving back toward in-person, then PBS Learning Media is still going to fit. And it honestly may be the only constant thing that you have going in your classroom as we navigate all of these shifts in education. So that's where we're going to start. We're going to use PBS Learning Media sort of as a launching pad to launch us into some activities that we can do with students. And that learning media is going to be that kind of solid foundation that students can access content, quality research-backed content that they can then use in a way to create and do and make something with these tools. All right, so let's dive right in. This again is PBS Learning Media. If you're not familiar with it, the web address, you can find it through the KET site, ket.org/education, or you can go directly to the PBS Learning Media site, which is pbslearningmedia.org. Again, it is a free service. We do suggest that you sign up for an account just because you get access to some extra stuff like being able to save resources and organize resources. And being a Kentucky customer, you get access to a few extra resources like specifically Magic School Bus. Is a service that we bought specifically for the state that other places don't have access to. So sign up for an account, make sure you're listed under KET so you get all of that good stuff. But essentially, PBS Learning Media is not a curriculum, okay? But it's good, solid content that can help supplement and also elevate the curriculum you're using. So as we dive into PBS Learning Media, realize that it is a service that works for all grade levels. There are things in PBS Learning Media for kindergarten and preschool and all of our early learners. And then there are resources that are great all the way up through 12th grade and high school, and even into some professional development courses are included there. So we're going to be pulling from a lot of things within Learning Media. I'm trying to give you a lot of different examples as we go through today that are from different grade levels and different content areas. And again, feel free to jump in. If something we talk about sparks an idea, please share it with the rest of us. We will all be better for it. But I did want to mention, if you're new to using PBS Learning Media, we have created some instructional integration frameworks. And those frameworks really walk you through how to create a lesson from beginning to end using just PBS Learning Media. Because again, the resources that are included there are quality, they are research-backed, they are straightly aligned to our content. And then nobody has time these days. Y'all, we're all so busy and everybody is so overwhelmed. So we created these frameworks as a way for teachers to be able to sit down and say, beginning to end, very quickly, I can build a content aligned, integrated, engaging lesson using just PBS Learning Media. That way, I'm not hopping all over the internet and I have to find this over here and that over here. You can design a complete lesson within just PBS Learning Media following these frameworks. And they're very easy to use, and I will show you just an overview of how they're basically set up, and then we'll dive into all the tools and stuff. But each of those lessons and those frameworks are going to walk you through how to access, how to introduce that content, how your students can apply that learning, how you can assess the learning that's happening, and then how you can connect it outside to other resources, other content areas, other tools. So all of that's there within those frameworks. And I'm going to back up because those frameworks are aligned, are on this website, ket.org/education/K12. We're going to have more webinars in the future on specifically these frameworks and how to build your lessons using just these frameworks and just PBS Learning Media in order to save time, but still have really quality, integrated, engaging lessons. But I just wanted you to know that that's there for now, because now that you have our, 10-cent overview of learning media to start with, we're going to jump into how we can use that as a catalyst along with these tools to create some engaging lessons. So where we're going to start, again, I'll reiterate, this is not going to be a how-to, but this is sort of a, wouldn't it be really cool if we could do this and then add this in so our students could do this? Okay, because I'm very big, if you know, I'm very big on students doing. I want less on me as the teacher. I want students to be able to do something and make something and create something and collaborate on something. So that's sort of the angle we took when we designed this session, is how can we build with PBS Learning Media with a tool for kids, for those students to be able to do something with it. All right, so we're going to start with sort of the craze that has taken over the world lately in education, Bitmoji. Okay, so imagine we are all history teachers, okay? And we are talking about a certain period of history. It could be anything. The top example you're seeing there is the Battle of Trenton. The bottom example is the Boston Massacre. But the point is, we are going to take what we would normally do with a topic, and we're going to make it engaging and digital. So if I'm looking at my history lesson, and we're going to be talking about maybe the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire. Maybe we're looking at turn of the century immigration, workers reform. Maybe that's our topic. So what I'm going to do is what I usually have my kids do. Maybe I have them do some research. All of that research can happen within PBS Learning Media. Maybe I still have them do some kind of write-up as they normally would. That can happen in Google Slides so students can collaborate using slides. But then what if I take that a step further and make it engaging? Because so far all they've done is written a report, right? We want to make it engaging, but we still want to hit the content. So we still have them do their research using quality, research-backed, good content from Learning Media. We still have them do their write-up because that's important. But then what if we have them design a Bitmoji scene that has to do with that content area, with that event, that historical time period, whatever it is? Okay, but then we take it even a step further. Not only are they just designing that scene and inserting their Bitmoji, but then, because one of the things that's really hard to teach in history is that first person perspective of how to see history and really like feel what it was like to be in that moment in history. So what if we turn their Bitmoji scene into, they also need to pull in and record some audio from a first person perspective. So now, not only am I still hitting my content, they're still getting writing practice, they're still getting research practice, but they're getting something fun thrown in. But that fun thing, I can look, and just by looking and listening to your first person story about what's happening in your Bitmoji scene, I, as the teacher, can understand, you understand the historical content. You know what I mean? More than reading the reports, more than looking at your research, I can, as a whole, as a culminating thing, look at your Bitmoji scene and listen to your audio and know if you got it or not. Okay. And again, we're combining two easy things to use. You've got Google Slides where they can pull in pictures and pull in their Bitmojis. Pull in audio now through Google Slides. But we've got quality PBS Learning Media research that started it all. Okay. And if you look at some of, oh, I'm going the wrong way. Hang on. If you look at some of this research, there's anything from video clips that they can watch within Learning Media. A dramatic pause right there while it loaded. So there are video clips here. One of the other resources that you specifically about this period of American history, if you're not familiar with the Mission US interactive games, oh my gosh, they're one of my favorite things. They are interactive games set in different periods of American history where you become the first person character of that story. And it's sort of like a choose your own adventure story where you get to choose, where to go and who to talk to and how to answer. And so, depending on how you do that, you see certain things in that story from a certain perspective. Like for on the American Revolution, and depending on who you choose to talk to, and how you choose to answer those people, you're going to end up seeing events unfold from either a patriot point of view or from a loyalist point of view, which again is hitting that very difficult topic in history to get, is that first person perspective. What did it really feel like to be in that moment in history? So that can fold into that one assignment, that one interactive where students get to do and create. And if we can, harness what's cool right now, Bitmoji is awesome right now. Kids love it. May not be next month, something else may take its place. But if we can harness that popularity power for good in the classroom, let's do that, because students are going to be engaged and they're going to be getting the content while they're doing it. So while we're there, I also want to mention within Learning Media, because we were talking about building those Bitmoji slides in Google Slides. I said slides a lot there. But everything in Learning Media can be sent directly to your Google Classroom and be assigned to your students directly with that one click. Every single resource in Learning Media can be done that way. So it's really easy to share those resources in that way. No matter if it's a video clip, no matter if it's an interactive, whatever it is, you're going to be able to share it within one click. All right, and most of the tools and activities we'll talk about today can all be shared and assigned to Google Classroom, because that seems to be a pretty popular platform right now. So I just wanted to be sure to point out to you that beside every single resource in Learning Media, there's that one click button that allows you to share it to Google Classroom. Okay. And also, just since we're here, if you all don't watch News Quiz, oh my gosh, you're missing out. So News Quiz is a 15-minute news program. I think it says it's typically for 4th through 8th graders. Y'all, I would take it all the way down to like 2nd, maybe even 1st. It's just good, solid current events. So typically there's 5 minutes on state news, 5 minutes on the national news, and 5 minutes on world news, and it covers the gambit. And it's just a really great way to keep your kids up to date on current events. If you are in person in school and your kids are gathering separately in the gym to space out, play it in the gym in the morning. If you need if you're in person but you're eating in your classroom and you need something to watch while you're eating lunch, this would be perfect. If you are virtual and you want to assign it to your students, to your social studies classes, that's awesome too. The great thing, again, about Learning Media is that it doesn't matter what your learning space looks like. This Learning Media is going to fit. Okay? So just wanted to make a special note that everything in Learning Media can be assigned through Google Classroom, which is great, except sometimes you may assign something and you go, well, I don't really know if my kids watch that or not. So what you can do, most things, I'm going to totally make up a statistic here, like 80% of the things in Learning Media you can download. That's totally a made up number. I don't know what it is really, but it's a lot. Most of the things in learning media you can download, which means that, oh, hang on, I've got my presentation all messed up now. I want to be able to see my tabs. Give me a second. All right. So, which means if you can download the video, you can pull it into Edpuzzle. If you're not familiar with Edpuzzle, it's basically a way for you to pull up a video, and then you can sort of chop it up and insert questions if you wish. And you can assign it to your students, again, through Google Classroom. Okay, it talks with your Google Classroom. And then you can see if your students have watched the video, how much of the video they've watched, if they answered the questions. So how powerful is that? You can pull in that good quality research-backed video clip from PBS Learning Media. And I do need to make a caveat mention here that most of the things that you find in Learning Media are in clips. You're not going to find a lot of like hour-long programs because that's not best practice. So most of the things that you're going to find in Learning Media that are video clips are going to be between, I don't know, a minute, 10 minutes, 12 minutes, somewhere usually under the 15-minute mark, because really that's best practice. The things in Learning Media are not meant to replace you as the teacher, okay? They're to supplement what you're doing. So pull that video clip into Edpuzzle, make some question stopping places. I do have to get on a soapbox here about Edpuzzle. You can also pull in videos that other people have created in Edpuzzle and just sort of like use them as your own. Please look through them first, because one of the most important things about Edpuzzle is the questioning. Not only just are they watching your video, but are you asking good questions? So a lot of the videos I've looked at in Edpuzzle are very sort of just were you listening questions. Like if it's a video on parts of a flower, you'll watch, you know, the stem does this, the leaves do this, the roots do this, and then it'll stop and ask a question, say, what do the leaves do? Well, I'm bored just asking that question. I know my students are going to be bored answering that question. So really the power behind Edpuzzle lies in the questioning techniques that you're going to use with it. So instead of asking what the roots do, you could ask something else that makes a connection that, again, by answering, you're going to know if your students understand what the roots do. So you could say something like, you know, what if there was an oil spill? How would plants react and why? And so by answering that, you know they're going to understand, but it's going to be a more interesting, in-depth, connection-making question. All right, so pulling videos into Edpuzzle from Learning Media, you have powerful video with great content, research-backed. You're able to stop and ask great questions and see which students have completed that and which students have not. Okay, so let's keep going. Another tool that you can use with Learning Media, and if you know me at all, this is one of my favorites. I use it with my own girls all the time. It's stop motion animation. Okay, there's a app site. It's on everything. It's called Stop Motion Studio. And you can see in the bottom corner, you can get it on iPhones and iPods and Chromebooks and Windows and Macs. And there's a cost to all of these, but listen, most of the time you can find the blue version and it's free. And it does pretty much everything that you need it to do. Okay, so stop motion. There is a great collection on PBS Learning Media called Everyday Learning. And Everyday Learning is for our younger learners. It's for our preschool, our kindergarten, our 1, maybe our 2s. And it is really great at breaking down. It's got math topics, it's got science topics, there are health topics, there are social studies topics. But let's just say we're a kindergarten math teacher, and we're going to be talking about sorting and graphing with our kindergartners. There's a great video clip from that Everyday Learning collection where they show you how to sort and how to graph, and they use toys. Okay? So what if then, because we can get that app on any device, which means our kids working virtually at home on Chromebooks can get this app. Our kids in person who have iPads can get this app. What if we then let them make their own graph using stop motion? Okay, stop motion is so easy, y'all. I tell the kids all the time when we are out in schools, when we used to could be and work with students and get up in their little faces, that there are 2 steps to stop motion. That's all there is. And really, as intricate and even into the professional level of animation, there's really just 2 steps when you break it down. You take a picture and you move something. That's it. So in this app, you can see it on the screen there, this black screen with that little red dot. All your kiddos have to be able to do is hit that red button to take a picture and then move their object a little bit. And that's all there is to stop motion. So I'm going to flash ahead because it's one that my first grader did. I gave her some Legos and I said, sort these by color. And then she wanted to by shape. Okay. And so this entire video that she created where she sorted them by color and then by shape took less than 5 minutes for her to create that video. Again, because all she had to do was take a picture and then move a Lego, and then take a picture and move the Lego. This took her less time than it would have taken her to sit down and do a paper worksheet. And she was engaged and she was on it. And then she made 8 more stop motion videos, and I could not get my iPad back. It's a very simple way to use a great video, a great starting place, like that Everyday Learning collection and the graphing and sorting. Get that content to those kids and then give them something where they can go and create and make and do something with that knowledge that they're getting using these tools. Now, I've given you a really basic kindergarten example, but this is also a tool that works really well with high school. So if you're in high school and you are working on hydrocarbon derivatives, okay, which is probably a word that I have not said since. If you could mute your mic, that would be great. So hydrocarbon derivatives is probably a word that I have not said since I was in like AP chemistry in high school, and we won't talk about how long ago that's been. But it's the same basic setup. Your kids learn about something in learning media. They get visuals, they get auditory listening, and then they take that knowledge and they go do something. Then they can show you how to create those molecules and how, if you introduce another molecule, how those molecules will react. Okay, they can do that very simply and very easily. They get the information, that base launching pad of information from learning media, and then they can branch out and use this tool to do and create. And okay, so not just an early learner resource, although we have worked with early learners on everything in stop motion, from like letter formation, where they would, if they're going to write the capital A, they write the first line and they take a picture, and they write the next line and they take a picture, and the cross line and they take a picture. And so they're practicing letter formation using stop motion. And again, it doesn't take that much time. And once you show them how to do it the first time, they're off. Okay, so that is Stop Motion Studio. It is another app that works beautifully with learning media. Another big resource that's been really popular this year is Screencastify. We could probably all sing the praises of Screencastify at this point, but I wanted to give you another way that you could use, that your students could use Screencastify, and in a foreign language example, which is typically, some of our foreign language teachers feel left out because there's a lot of reading in math and science and social studies, but then, foreign language, what do we do? So here's a great example using Screencastify. There are lots of very simple, direct videos in PBS Learning Media that within 30 seconds or a minute hit vocabulary, hit content. That would be very easy and very beneficial for foreign language students to translate. And then use Screencastify to record themselves with a backdrop of that video, translating all of that rich vocabulary into their second language that they're learning. Okay, so if you're a language teacher, you know that getting that speaking practice is important, but it's also important for auditory practice. So students can use their Screencastify videos, share, and then think about if you've got high school foreign language students creating these very vocabulary rich language videos, why don't you share those with your elementary, maybe ELL or ESL students as an extra support for those students? And then I'm all about hitting as many birds with that one stone as I can. You're knocking down a lot of pillars with that one activity. And again, word on the street from Sesame Street, your high schools are going to giggle and laugh all the way through it, I promise. But it's very targeted. They're short 30-second video clips. Again, if they're using Screencastify, they can mess up and flub up their words and just start over. Okay, so again, they're getting lots and lots of repetitive practice doing these activities. All right, and I'm sure we could think of lots of other ways to use Screencastify. It's sort of been a savior this school year, but that's just an extra example of how you can use, again, PBS Learning Media resources as that launching pad for your students to be able to do cool stuff with these resources. All right, we're going to hit just a couple more resources because I do want to leave plenty of time for questions at the end. So another big resource that we have, kind of polled the teacher audience and learned that a lot of us are using Wakelet. If you're not familiar with Wakelet, it's basically just a space where you can curate stuff. Okay, if you're looking at the screen, you can curate website URLs, you can add text, you can pull in YouTube videos, you can pull in tweets, you can pull in pictures from your Google Drive, you can even pull in Flipgrid videos. You can curate lots and lots of stuff all in one space. So again, if we're trying to do something really creative and hands-on with our kids, we can pull lots of things together in this one Wakelet space. So for example, if we're in a virtual learning space, probably we're not going to be able to do science fairs this year, if that was ever on your docket. However, because you can use Wakelet and you can pull in your own video and you can pull in things from places like PBS Learning Media, you can create a Wakelet of your science fair. So everything you would normally put in your presentation or on your board can go into this Wakelet. So for example, the classic science fair project is that exploding volcano. So if we were to do our science fair Wakelet on a volcano, I could pull in video from Learning Media about plate tectonics, volcanic eruptions, all of that good stuff, layers of the earth, hot magma, whatever, all that great stuff's in there. I could pull in that as my research piece into my Wakelet. I could also go take a picture or film, my vinegar and baking soda home experiment. I can pull that into my Wakelet. So everything for my science fair project is right in that one space. Okay, another example using still Wakelet you can see on the screen. If you're having your students explore different careers, there are tons of great research places in Learning Media, all surrounding careers. One specifically that you can see is the first two examples there that are on that specific Wakelet. KET developed a Careers in Demand, which highlights the most in-demand careers in Kentucky. And you see in-depth videos and interviews with people in Kentucky in those positions. And you get a really good glimpse of life in that position. So you can pull in those videos. There are other collections like Career Connections is another really good one with lots of career videos that take you into that career. You pull those into your Wakelet. You go interview or Skype with someone in that position in your community, and you can pull that into your Wakelet. You can pull in a shopping list of all the things and tools that you need for that position. The ways that you can use Wakelet to curate information are endless. But again, Learning Media as that content launching place is a really great place to start. All right, same thing for Flipgrid. Again, Learning Media content can be easily pulled into Flipgrid to frame a question. Rather than just hopping on and saying, tell me about XYZ, you can insert a video clip for your students as sort of a launching pad, idea sparking. Again, you're getting the visual cues, you're getting the auditory cues, and giving your students a little bit of background knowledge and then asking them to respond. Okay, so lots of things in Learning Media very easily pull in to lots of other tools and lots of other places. Padlet is another really great tool that we've all been using this year. And again, it's the same thing. If you pose a question to your students, why not spark their thinking by using maybe a controversial video? Maybe you're learning about, making a stand and argumentative essays and all of those things in those ELA standards. Why not pose the question in a Padlet by using a video? And I'll tell you, let me back up. Padlet, you can design your Padlet to be a lot of different things. You can make timelines. Oh my gosh, make a timeline and pull in video clips from PBS Learning Media. This example that we did, though, was there's a great collection on Learning Media called Above the Noise. And it really hits home those really sort of touchy subjects with students and really in our world right now. And this one happened to be, when is your brain ready for social media? And so we posed the question, after watching this, take a stance. And so I've given students a starting place. They're not just going to have to start like reaching for facts and things out of the air to be able to answer this question. They've got a video starting place where they can pull out maybe a statistic that he said and talk about that. And then because you're using Padlet, your students can also respond to each other. And they can, you have the ability to let them upvote or downvote. And if, again, especially if you are maybe talking digital citizenship, and you want to make sure that when they up or down vote a question, that they back that up with constructive evidence of why they're choosing to respond that way. So again, PBS Learning Media is that launching pad that can get you really involved in lots of tools and lots of digital citizenship, and how all of that can sort of tie nice and neat together in a little bow for you. Let me look at my time. Okay, a couple more. Pear Deck. Okay, lots of us are using Pear Deck both in person, our favorite, the words that we love to hate, asynchronously or synchronously. Lots of us are using Pear Deck for student instruction. You can pull entire websites into a Pear Deck slide. That way, your students are able to research and explore within PBS Learning Media, but still stay in your Pear Deck slides. So they're not having to jump out lots of different places. You've still got them safely in your Pear Deck slide deck, but they can also explore and research within Learning Media from your slide deck without having to jump out into internet world. And then some of us were talking about Canva before the session started. I am sort of in love with Canva. I use Canva for just about everything, whether I should or not. But anytime you want students to design something, to make a poster, draw a picture, XYZ, they can use Canva. Canva is really easy. It's a design platform. You can start from templates, or you can start from totally creating your own thing. But say your students are exploring national parks, and you want to start by talking about Mammoth Cave that's right here in Kentucky. There are lots of great resources. I keep saying this, but there really are. There are lots of great resources in Learning Media on that specific topic. I've highlighted 2 there. But your students can do the background research, do the legwork, do the footwork in Learning Media, get their facts together, and then design a poster or design a pamphlet or whatever you would normally have them draw on paper and create, they can do with Canva and share with you virtually. So they're still having that freedom of expression. They're still creating and making. They can even collaborate within Canva. You can have multiple students collaborating on the same piece within Canva. And again, we're still hitting content, and the kids are still getting to share and do and create and not just sit in direct instruction and listen. They're getting that chance to do, which is so important, especially in a virtual environment. All right, the last one I'll talk about, because I want to give you plenty of time to ask questions and get you out of here at a good time. Book Creator. Okay, I say this about a lot of these. This is one of my favorite tools too, Book Creator. Students can use resources from within Learning Media to learn about structure of books, character development, sentence structure, create amazing stories, but then really sort of breathe life into those stories using Book Creator. Okay, with Book Creator, your students can draw within, upload their own images. Maybe they're drawing at home and then uploading that image. They can add audio so they can narrate their own piece. So again, we're getting lots of those multimodal, we've got images, we've got auditory, we've got the speaking and reading if they're recording themselves. But again, that launch pad, that place to start to get that good, solid instruction and content to start with are those resources within Learning Media. And they use those as their base knowledge to then go and create and do. All right. Now, the next thing I want to show you, there's lots of other good stuff in here. Learning Media, again, free and open. Anybody can have access to Learning Media. That means you as teachers can get on, teacher down the hall can get on, teacher across the district can get on, your students can get on, your parents can get on. Everybody can get on PBS Learning Media. All of the resources are there and available. We have a handout that we've just recently created that you'll enjoy. It is basically the tools from this presentation plus some, and it outlines sort of what we've done. We walk through a few example ideas of how Learning Media can be integrated with these tools to create more engaging virtual learning or in-person learning. Because remember, Learning Media fits no matter what your learning model presently looks like. And it's going to transition with you if you shift from virtual to in-person, or from in-person back to virtual, or from in-person to hybrid. Whatever shifts you have to make throughout the year, Learning Media is going to be that constant that's there no matter what other major shifts are happening. It's sort of like your constant and consistent lifeline throughout all of the shifting seas of this year. So you can find that at the website listed. It's ket.org/education/K12. And on the right sidebar, there'll be a drop down of additional resources, and it's listed there. And again, that's the same website where you have access to those frameworks that walk teachers through exactly how to build lessons from within Learning Media, how to introduce it, access it, how to introduce that content, how your students can apply, how you can assess, and then how you can connect that learning, all within those frameworks. Frameworks, again, are also at that website. If you have any questions as you move forward, you are welcome to reach out to the KET Education Consultants. We cover the state and answer any questions you may have as you go through your learning journey. If you want to take a deeper dive and do that step-by-step of how to use any of these tools, reach out. We'd be glad to set up a consultation and walk with you through how to set up these tools, how to use them in your class. Be sure to check out that handout too, because it will cover some of the resources and some of the tools that we didn't get to today. And if you haven't used PBS Learning Media before, dive in. Now, I know within Learning Media, it has that one-click button to share with Google Classroom, but it also, everything within Learning Media has a unique URL. So you can just share that URL link as well, get that to that same place as using that Google Classroom button. And it also works with Remind too. If any of your schools are using Remind to communicate with students or parents, all of the resources in Learning Media with a one-click, you can also share through Remind and through email and Facebook and all of those avenues that you may be sharing with your families.